And you mentioned GM moving as certainly a strand of Live Well, but we've got other strands of Live Well within the CA, so the age-friendly team, the work on pension credit led by Elaine Morgan and our cost of living team. So we've kind of got, even ourselves, we need to sort of weave these things closer together because they all live a little separately at the moment. But GM moving has definitely set the standard for us over the last 10 years. And Tim, really delighted that you're here today and the backing that you've given to the City region as Chief Exec of Sport England. We believe we've learnt a lot through the support that you've given us. We've seen the really fantastic job led by Hayley and Eve in terms of the energy in which we've built GM moving. But as we refresh our arrangements today and re-sign our commitment, I just thought maybe I'd hand to you first to give your perspective on what you think, where you think GM moving is at and how you see it going forward.
Very happy to do that, Chair, and thank you, Andy, both for the welcome and good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be with you, and it's a real pleasure to have this opportunity. And I thought I'd just actually, conscious of time a bit, just narrow things down to 3 points around that, if I can. And in your opening remarks, I've written it down, I'm afraid. You said this is the moment to get serious about prevention, and that feels 100% aligned with both Sport England and our ambitions around the broader public health agenda, and indeed our partnership with GM Moving. And the document that we signed this morning or this afternoon was exactly the next stage of a 10-year journey, as you say. We've got all the data and the stats that you might need to recognise why it's so necessary. And in fact, we've got some very new data coming out quite soon at a national level that really focus on the cost of not acting, but also the benefit of acting, and recognising that you can potentially save 10 billion a year in the country as a whole across healthcare, social care, informal care. If we have a more active nation, you could save 30 million GP visits each year. All those stats and data, everyone's got versions of those, but I think at a national level, we're beginning to realise, and even going to some of the wider government missions of the new government, recognising that active individuals, people who are moving in their daily lives, are likely to take 27% fewer sick days, for example, than... So our agenda is your agenda here. It's very much about how can we actually get onto a prevention-first footing. And the purpose of how we want to work at Sport England has moved increasingly away from just and only being rather traditionally focused on organised competitive sport, although future Keeley Hodgsons matter just as much as anybody else. But also to a nation that moves more. And the strategy that we publish, which is very familiar to some in this room, but maybe not to others, Uniting the Movement, is a decade-long attempt to move more and be purpose-driven around delivering the life-changing benefits that playing sport and being active can bring. I think what it particularly does is recognise something that's cropped up all afternoon, which is the inequalities that exist in provision. They do in sport just as much as they do in other areas of public life. And we're very focused around trying to seek to tackle those inequalities. And we invest, and it's probably quite nice to be in a room where I don't have to explain who Michael Marmot is, but we invest very much in a proportionate universalism-based way. We have a responsibility to invest across the whole of the country in sport and physical activity, but we are unashamedly disproportionate about where we spend the majority of our resources and our investment. And by the way, we have quite a lot of money for a sports council, £300 million a year, but I did the maths the other day and it's 14 hours of the NHS budget. So it begins to start to sort of show why we need to work in a much more joined up fashion. So that sense of working disproportionately has led us, and Jane, I'm going to borrow your phrase now, to work in a whole system, place-based way. And that's led to this partnership. In fact, the partnership with GM was one of the 12 first pilot areas that we used to try and work differently, to take a place-based approach, to think about the issues and the inequalities that existed, and then work to find solutions to those based on community need, rather than a sort of rather distant top-down view of what would work. And in some ways, the best tribute I can give to GM is that it's been like the pilot of the pilots. It was a bit of a pathfinder, and it's really kind of you to say how much you think you've learned from Sport England. I think we've learned a huge amount from working with Hayley and Eve and the team. about how to do this in partnership, how to leverage the benefits that collectively we can bring, where our different strengths, where our resources, where our expertise can best create the opportunity, with very much a single goal in mind: to tackle those inequalities, to change the dynamic around the activity levels, and ultimately to create a happier and healthier nation through the way that we're working in place. So with my colleagues who are lined up very dutifully behind me, we are really pleased to be here today to emphasise that with you, to yes, formally sign the MOU, Chair, but far more what that entails, what it suggests. It's a investment on Monday, I hope, that the Board of Sports England will make to further bring some resource behind it. It'll be our single biggest investment into place across the country, actually, into Greater Manchester when we make it, and ultimately to think about how we can continue to make a difference. I've always been quite fixated, forgive me for quoting the West Wing, but there's a moment when the President Bartlett in a debate is, his opponent gives a rather pithy 10-word response to a question, and it seems like a slogan and it's very attractive. And he just looks at them and says, okay, that's fine, what are the next 10 words? I think we're all in that space. We all know the first 10 words to this problem. Our job, and I'm really pleased that we're here today to try and help contribute to you, is to find out how in Greater Manchester we find those next 10 words and really start to tackle the problems that exist. So thank you very much for having me.
No, it's great. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. You've got me thinking, but I will come back to some of those thoughts at the end. Tom, you're the chair of our GM Moving Partnership Group. Anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good, Andy, to come into any GM discussion that is even vaguely related to GM Moving, because other people give it a really good trailer, and I think that's a sign of its impact and its traction across the system over a lot of years already. So I've been chairing the partnership board just for the last couple of years with Hayley and Eve and the whole team, and I mean, I think the interconnectedness of this and the importance of moving at a neighbourhood level in all its forms is the most important message with this, and the new MOU gives us the opportunity to deepen that at the neighbourhood level in exactly the way that we need to see the interplay between the health and social care system, the very recurrent complaint that we all have in our day jobs from our PCNs and our GPs who frequently report, Tim, exactly the statistics you've quoted, you know, surgery by surgery, practice by practice, the vast majority of people coming in through the door who would benefit from movement in all its forms, and it's exactly that connection across the system I think that GM Moving has been making and will certainly continue to make, you know, to the nth degree under the new MOU. So it's been a pleasure to be part of that. I think we have definitely got not just the next kind of 10 words, but probably the next 10 years or so of hard graft on this. But it's going to be good, and it's going to be a partnership that will have, I think, real meaning at the heart of it. So, yeah, warmly endorse all that's been said and the MOU that we have fortunately already signed before I had to speak, Andy, which is good. So happy to pass over to Hayley and Eve to say a bit more as well on the back of that. Thanks.
You don't get to do this job without being able to read a room. And to be honest, I think everything I would have said has been covered. And I think it's been brought to life in our experience this morning in this site as well, where we just saw integration in action and heard the stories and the people, and it's ultimately people that make people move, as we've heard before. So, yeah, I think it's been said and felt.
Okay, just then for the record, just to add to all of that, my brief for this meeting was to talk about what I'm proud of, what I'm grateful for, and what keeps me going on this mission. This was Eve's brief to me in the papers. The thing I'd like to just focus on is the bit of what I'm grateful for, because over in the youth hub across the car park earlier on, we just saw everything that Jane's described in action right in front of you, ably led by some brilliant integrated members of team from across Team Lee and Wigan, and everything from GP practice, health walks, Sure Start, lead, or early years lead walks over in Wesley earlier today. I want to say Ross, who has worked in that place for 2 years, and literally said to me, I love this job. I can't wait to get up every day and go to work. And he proudly showed us all around and showed us how careers advice and applying for jobs and apprenticeships was interlinked with people referral unit who were coming into the room, bike hub, bike library, absolutely everything that we've talked about all happening in this place. And, and I genuinely know that we could have gone to any of the 10 districts today if this meeting had happened to have landed in any of the 10 districts. We have got examples of that taking place across GM, and there's so much more to do. But my gratitude really is for then the people who are making all of that happen on the ground, because there are some incredible people right the way through from Ross and the team all the way through to people who've gone on from this work and moved into other roles. And we had Sarah Price in the room yesterday with 170 people from across the country talking about the integration of physical activity and health and her new role in NHS England and how she's taken the learning from this work into that as well, which is just brilliant to hear. So it is about the people. And I just think that, across all the 10 districts, that's happening. I can't, just for the record as well, I suppose to be noted in the minutes that my absolute, gratitude to colleagues in Sport England, right across the organisation. We had all 297 of them in Manchester in February for their All Colleagues Day. And the relationships and the trust and the genuinely alongside each other way of working that we've got now in this work is phenomenal. So I, real appreciation for the role that they play, and they talk about the value of the investment into Greater Manchester as the kind of monetary investment, but the real contribution is the leadership role that the teams play in right across the country now, and that we're a big part of. And then my final piece is to say thanks to to Tom and the GM Moving Partnership Board, members of that board all here today and involved, who play a role right across from public sector leisure through to Transport for Greater Manchester and community voluntary sector organisations. So it genuinely is something that we all have a role to play, and we are all playing it. And there is just one ask of everyone in the room who has a card in front of them. So you must put your name on it. I realise I didn't put the name on it. To put your name on it and describe, what is your role and contribution to this agenda over the coming 10 years, and what support is needed to help you play it, so that we can play our full role in Live Well and our full role in the mission of Greater Manchester. So thank you.
No, thank you, Hayley and Eve, and Tom, for what you've done to make this Sport England backing real in Greater Manchester. And I think 3 of the 10 words are couched to 5K, because I think that has been one of the best NHS innovations, looking towards health innovation Manchester now, that I can remember. Actually, the level of reach and cut through that has had is huge, actually. And I think we should have you got on that? Are you on it, Councillor?
I was just saying it's 4 words, not 3.
5K is like a 1. I miss your pedantry, Richard, actually.